Hello, today I am going to show you how to make this delicious looking bone-in prime rib roast. And here are the materials that you need. Take your white or champagne colored polymer clay and roll it to a log. Then take your rolling pin and flatten the log to not more than 2 millimeters thick. Then slice this to a strip about 10 millimeters long. I needed 5 of them, but I made extras in case I break it in the process of putting it to the clay. Then, using a ball tool, I softened the edges and give it some textures and pre-baked it. Next, take your light colored scrub clay and condition it very well. Then, shape the clay by pressing and pinching one side to create a tear shape when you look at it side view. You can also use anything cylindrical to further shape the clay. And here I am just using a ball pen. Remove and set the excess clay aside. Then add holes so the bones can be inserted in between. Carefully insert the bones in the holes, keeping them at the same height. Again, remove any excess clay if you need to. Next, close any gaps between the bones using a ball tool or a sculpting tool. Next, take the excess scrap clay and use this to add texture to the meat. I started adding more clay to the bone area to make it look like a meat that had shrunk after roasting. Then, using a craft knife, slice some part of the clay and use a ball tool to further add the texture. Add some lines using the craft knife, and so basically you are just going back and forth to create a nice roast meat like texture using your sculpting tool, ball tool, or your craft knife. You can also add clay to create an elevation to the meat. This will give the appearance of a fat that shrunk when a beef is roasted. After you're satisfied with how it looks like, you can completely bake the clay and let it cool before adding the shade or the paint. I am using these colors to apply the shadings, and these are really cheap, unknown brands, so your color might have a big difference with mine. Maybe yours would be much better. I started using a yellow ochre paint as my base color, and I am using a patting motion to color the clay. You can also use a mustard yellow if yellow ochre is not available. Then I added a watered down dark brown acrylic paint to the bones. And then try to remove any excess paint using a wet wipes. Then I used a black paint to some part of the bone before adding another brown to resemble a cooked blood. Then I mixed red, currant red, and brown together to make it look like a basting sauce or a marinade. Again, using a patting motion, I added the paint on the clay and also using a wet wipes to remove excess paint. Then I added some dark brown acrylic paint to the elevated part. After adding the color, let it completely dry. Next, I sealed it with a colorless nail polish because this one gives it more gloss than the regular glossy varnish that I used. I also added some green sand on top while the nail polish is still wet to make it look like there's some herbs on it. Then at the end, I decorated it with some broccoli and tomatoes on the side and also some moss. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Please help me grow my channel by clicking the subscribe button and get notified for new videos. Bye bye and see you next Saturday.